You're listening to Galaxy of Film. All right, welcome back to the brain ups of Galaxy of Film. I'm, of course, your host, Max, and stepping into the co-host role this week is none other than Jake, returning for the second week in a row. How are you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. Just been busy working, watching, all the things, you know.
I feel you on that, dude. I feel you on that. Anything new and exciting going on for your life this week, bro? Anything at all going on? I know it's been so long since we've talked in an episode together.
Nothing new really. We had a bit of a meeting last night with the Mayhem guys down here, and we're gonna be shooting our next film, I believe next week, and we had a bunch of other little idea sesh kind of things going on. So yeah, looking exciting. We got a lot of stuff going on, hopefully before the summer ends. So hopefully we'll have 2 or 3 more. Yeah.
Back to back, dude. Mayhem is not only back, dude, but you got you in the full swing. I love it, Jake. I love it. And of course, he also dropped an LFG this week discussing Maxine, the end of the X trilogy from A24, and also introducing Naima Saeed to the Galaxy of Film family as well, too. Only the best here, dude. We got some great stuff going. Got a lot more coming in the future. And be sure to check out last week's episode, too, as we were discussing the Despicable Me quadrilogy. Getting some Minion talk going on. Always a great time, bro. But glad to get you back here again for the second week in a row. I want to go ahead and introduce some guest stars we have lined up. We also have a very special guest, too. But first up, we do have the man who's been here since episode 14. And if you are new to the show or watching this on YouTube where we don't put the episode numbers, for context, guys, this is episode 186. So it's kind of crazy that he's been here this long at this point. But not only that, he has literally been here since the conception of Galaxy of Film when I met Danilo all those years ago at Star Wars Celebration 2019. We got Curtis Shack. How are you doing, bro?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
Doing great, man. Doing great. It's always good to get you back in here. What's new with your life, brother?
Oh, saving up for Celebration Japan next year, so really not spending a whole lot except on bills.
Eating that ramen.
Dude, it's a lot of chicken and rice.
Yeah.
No, things are going good, man. Got a concert next month I'm doing. I'm excited, dude. It's not a whole lot's happening, but the stuff that I'm doing is I'm trying to be more active.
I gotcha.
But no, just enjoying life, man.
There you go, man. Good vibes. I just saw Red Hot Chili Peppers and Ice Cube a couple weeks ago. Gotta love some good concerts.
Hell yeah.
That's some good stuff, dude. Introducing to the main show for the first time, but she's made several LFG appearances on our bonus content series. We got Jedi Knight Lex. How are you doing, Lex?
I'm doing good. Excited to be on the main stage finally. I'm super excited, so it'll be a good show. Yeah,
of course. Do us a favor real quick. In case our listeners are not too familiar, because LFG, are really kind of small-oriented, focused episodes, a bit more directly on things that just don't quite make it on the main show, go ahead and give us a little bit of a recap on who you are for a little bit, too, in your content.
Yeah, so I go by Jedi.Lux across pretty much all the platforms, and I am just mainly a Star Wars content creator, so I do collectibles, conventions, news, reaction. So recently, a big part of my channel has been the Acolyte. I've been enjoying that. Sorry. But, I just try to keep everything fresh and light and Star Wars focused. So if you're into that, come join me in a galaxy far, far away.
Very nice. Very nice. I'm glad to finally get you here making your main show debut with us. It's been too long. You were talking some Bad Batch at some point with us and also some Mando. It's crazy. You've been here for quite a bit with us, but just not in this show. So welcome here finally. Very happy to get you on here. But as well, we do have a very special guest with us this week, coming also from a galaxy far, far away. We have Nalini Krishan, who plays, of course, Barriss Offee in the Star Wars prequels, also in Bloodsucker Jones versus the Creeping Death, and Soldier as well. Welcome to Galaxy of Film. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much for asking. How are you?
Doing great. Doing great. Thank you for asking as well. I don't get asked that very often. This is a very wholesome episode so far. But yeah, you are Barriss Offee in the prequels, which is really, really cool. Obviously, we've discussing Clone Wars way back when Curtis. Barriss has a huge arc in later episodes in the Clone Wars and some early stuff too with Ahsoka. But here we are discussing the newest Star Wars animated show, Tales of the Empire, which features the return of Barriss Offee herself. So first off, I have to go ahead and ask you, Nalini, being involved in the prequels, did you watch the Clone Wars as that was coming out or later on? Like, how did you, kind of feel about Barriss kind of coming from this kind of extra character in the prequels to having a full-fledged role and arc later on in the shows?
You know what? I played such a small role in the films that honestly, I didn't really know much about the Star Wars universe. I watched the first three, as a child on TV, but I never knew that they were going to take my character and create this story, this background about her, this backstory that was going to become so popular. And then, then the Clone Wars came out, and then they did something very, incredibly opposite to what she stood for. So, and then Tales of the Empire. So I really didn't know what to expect. And it was actually quite a surprise that she came out in the Clone Wars. There was a lot of questions about whether she died. And then because there was big question marks about that, there was suggestions that maybe they would actually expand her storyline, which they did in the Clone Wars. And then so many fans have wanted to know what happened to her. And then they brought out Tales of the Empire. So it's been a great experience, even though I did the live action for her in Attack of the Clones. But I'm just glad that they actually expanded her storyline, so I got to know more about her, and what she's really like, and and the decisions she made in Tales of the Empire. So yeah, it's been an incredible journey watching her, like as someone, an actress that played her, but also, as an outsider watching what they were doing with her, in the anime and the cartoons.
Absolutely. It's cool being able for us to kind of like grow up alongside the character too. Obviously we're all big prequel fans here. I feel like grew up with these movies. I saw Revenge of the Sith when I was 5 in theaters. I grew up quite along with these films. And when Clone Wars was coming out, I was in like 3rd grade, I think, if not mistaken, when the show dropped at that point. And Ahsoka and Barriss kind of being the youngest characters, like in the Jedi Council or the Jedi Order, excuse me. They were kind of like the most relatable to us in that degree, just because the age gap or the age similarity right there. So it's kind of seeing her character or now returning back as I'm an adult, being able to appreciate it is a really cool journey as well too. But it's great to get you on here for such a fitting episode of all things too. So let's go ahead and dive straight into this show. Now, obviously, this is kind of, I don't want to call it a sequel or a spinoff. But it's a very similar show to a little thing called Tales of the Empire, which we talked about, I think, like episode 101, Curtis, a long time ago.
A while ago, yeah.
Yeah, and that dropped, the first episode we saw back at Celebration Anaheim, which is pretty awesome. In that show, if you guys aren't familiar, we get 3 episodes focusing on Ahsoka during some different points in her life, and then 3 episodes focusing on Dooku and 3 points in his life, which is pretty cool. And then this show, Tales of the Empire, we're kind of diving into a bit more of what is being built upon with the Ahsoka series that we also talked about on the podcast earlier last year. So we get 3 episodes focusing on Morgan Elsbeth, who is one of the main antagonists of Ahsoka, and then 3 episodes focusing on Barriss and what exactly happens to her. So let's go ahead and a little bit of a recap for the Morgan Elsbeth episodes. We have 3 episodes: Path of Fear, Path of Anger, and Path of Hate. The first one, we're kind of diving into her Night Sister kind of backstory. We're seeing the battle with General Grievous kind of wiping out the Night Sisters. And we're seeing, kind of her wanting this quest of revenge against Grievous and the Separatists. It kind of backfires on her. We get Path of Anger, which ends up going through her meeting Thrawn for the first time. We get Rook, which is pretty cool because we saw him in Rebels. And he's also from the Thrawn trilogy and Legends. And it's also her first time meeting Thrawn, which is a very key relationship we see in the Ahsoka series and is kind of teased in the Mandalorian as well. And then Path of Hate, which of course we do see Morgan Elsbeth kind of be like this little tyrant of this little civilization, this village that we see in the Mandalorian, where Ahsoka goes to fight her. And that's also our first time seeing Resistance kind of animated in this Clone Wars art style, compared to just the Resistance show, which we haven't covered just yet. Yeah, it's not too in-depth for Morgan Elsbeth, kind of just giving her some more backstory. Of course, we do know what happens with her character in Ahsoka after the Mando stuff is done. Curtis, this was like a May the 4th release as well this year too, which is pretty cool. Yes. Did you watch Tales of the Empire day one? Where are we at with this first off?
So I did not watch it day one. I was the assumption of what I did with Tales of the Jedi was when they're all done, I think the way to do it is wait for them all to come out. That way you have a full story to go through instead of here's one episode here, break the week after, do that. I prefer, especially these since there's only 3 episodes.
Well, this was
having
all
them-
at once that dropped.
Oh, that's right, it was. I must have forgot about that because I did not watch it day one.
Sick one, dude.
That's
Sick
probably
one.
why but I don't know if that was ever relayed to me. I don't think I saw anything about that. So that's probably why my brain thought that.
Okay.
But no, didn't watch it day one. Watched it pretty fairly recently, maybe like a month or 2 ago. Yeah, no, it's not as strong as Jedi for me, but there are parts in this that I do really appreciate.
Okay, I got you. Jake, I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off first with you because I don't think we've actually had you on a Star Wars episode of the podcast, if I'm not mistaken.
Not necessarily. I don't think so. No.
Yeah. So were you familiar with Clone Wars growing up as well? First of all,
I didn't. I've seen like bits and pieces of it. I haven't seen the full series. I have like seen all the Maul stuff. I've seen. I saw like a lot of the early stuff. Like when I was like younger, I would watch it. But yeah, I sort of like fell off on it, and then I just never picked it back up to watch the whole thing. But I did see like that whole like last season they did, or most of that I think. And then like all the Maul stuff. Because I always remember like hearing like it's like out of order or something. So like you got there's a correct way to watch it. So I was looking at that for a while, and then I would always try to get into it and like go through it all, and then I would just at a certain point I don't know why I would just like come off of it, and then but then I saw like Rebels, and I enjoyed that. Not all of Rebels, but like I think a couple seasons of Rebels I saw really that. And then like I've been more of a I love Star Wars. I love like the original films and the prequels and even the newer stuff. Like I really like all that stuff a lot. And I don't know, like I think with all the Disney Plus stuff, I find myself like being like, oh my god, I missed that. Like there's a lot of things that I'm missing. So I gotta double back at some point and really just like absorb all of it, because I didn't even finish like Ahsoka. I think like the only like Disney Plus stuff that I've like been up to date like watching has been like The Mandalorian, Obi-Wan, and that might honestly be, I don't know, Boba Fett I watched. Like that might be it. Like I don't think I never finished Andor. I never finished I'm not caught up on Acolyte. I haven't been like I don't know what it is, but yeah, I definitely want to. Like I definitely like want to go back and like discover all that, because like it I was interesting and I really liked it, especially Andor. I heard it got like incredible toward the end, and I just fell off on it, and I gotta get double back and check those out. There's just so much stuff out there, but I quite enjoyed this Tales of the Empire. It was good, and it was like a breezy kind of like quick watch, which I really appreciated. It was like it's these like 11-minute like 15-minute bite-sized episodes, and I thought that was really cool. And you get straight to it, and it's like it's very like concise in the storytelling, and I appreciated that quite a bit. So I had fun with the show. Yeah.
Okay. I forgive you a bit more than we forgive Brandon here for never seeing any Star Wars.
Oh, I know.
Which is still crazy.
No, yeah, crazy.
I'll never forget, forgive you, or forget you that you give him shit for that in a bar after the cameo. Completely drunk. That was great.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this real quick, Jake. Let's dive into the Morgan Elsbeth arc real quick. What are your thoughts on that specifically, those 3 episodes, not having the full context of Ahsoka?
I know.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and hearing you to talk about it more, I think I would have like probably even like loved this stuff if I had seen all that. And so Morgan Elsbeth, is that the one that she fights in The Mandalorian?
Yes, that's her.
Okay, so that gives me some more context. So yeah, that's I with that background, because I thought this was just like a new character like for this series, and I still really like enjoyed the arc that we see with her, and like that initial episode like almost looked like live action. Like it was so cool with the Grievous kind of like just wipeout going on. That was all like really great stuff. And then it's interesting that you mentioned, because I felt like the Barriss stuff felt more of like a like linear, like this one. I think there was like episode 2 of like the Morgan stuff, like it jumped, right? Like I feel like there's a lot of stuff that it's like kind of like you were saying, like specific moments, whereas like the Barriss stuff, I felt like I was able to kind of track the journey more. but yeah, no, I still really enjoyed it, and I thought it was interesting for sure, and I really like that character, and definitely like to go back and see all that other stuff will give me a lot more context to make me like fully appreciate it, you know.
Okay, I got you, man. I got you. And Nalini, what about you? How are you feeling about the Morgan Elsbeth arc? Excuse me. Were you a fan of this one? Were you already familiar with the character? Where were you at with this?
I'm like Jake. I mean, I haven't seen every single show. I think we were
Mm.
having a conversation about this before, that there's just so much out there to watch that you have to really pick and choose,
Mhm.
what you're going to watch. And I haven't seen all the Ahsoka series yet. I say yet because I'm going to go back to it. But you know what? I actually really liked Morgan Elsbeth. I know that she didn't have a very good ending in the sense that she turns incredibly brutal and evil and tyrant, as you said. But I actually really I didn't resonate with her. It's probably the wrong word, but I just really kind of empathize,
Yeah.
empathize with her. I felt so bad for what happened, to her, that I almost like pitied her. And I really wanted a good outcome for her when I watched it, and to see her to turn into this incredibly, she had no emotion. She was incredibly cold. She didn't care for the people. She became the very person really that she shouldn't have become from what happened, but she was just so filled with rage. So I thought it was very fascinating watching her character, even in the short period that they did the 3 episodes. I sort of connected to that so much very quickly. And, I hope that they probably, expand on that a bit more. I mean, surely, maybe she might come back to the good side. But no, I really enjoyed that. And I think that was probably a bit stronger than Barriss Offee's 3 episodes. I felt that,
Oh.
really had a bit more of an understanding, whereas with Barriss Offee, you were I think they're really trying to give the audience, okay, this is what truly happened. This is what's happened after Clone Wars. This is a very open-ended finish, but with Morgan, it was very much, okay, this is what's happened. This is why she is who she is. And this is what she's become. And this is, the influence of sphere that she has with everyone around her, and how powerful she's become in her own evil right. So, the two are very different. And I almost feel like Morgan Elsbeth's 3 episodes are probably stronger, like ultimately stronger in what they were trying to portray than Barriss Offee's.
Interesting. Okay, I
Yeah.
love the hot take here. I'm here for it. Very nice.
Ew.
Lex, how are you feeling about the Morgan episodes of this one in particular?
So I'm actually the opposite. I preferred the Barriss story arc more than the Morgan. However, I did think it was interesting. I'll try to remain kind of spoiler free from the Ahsoka series for you too. But we kind of get introduced to the character in The Mandalorian, and I don't know. I totally forgot that we got introduced to her in The Mandalorian. I saw her in Ahsoka. I'm like, okay, like where do we know her from? Oh, it's Mandalorian. And then she
Mhm.
has this crazy relationship with Thrawn that I'm like, where did this come from? Like, there was definitely a lot of questions about how she kind of just jumped into power and where she came from. And she was a very powerful person and Night Sister. So I did think it was interesting to kind of finally get that background to her character, to see, this is how she met Thrawn. I really enjoyed the first episode the most. I think it was really cool getting to see Grievous just go ham
Yeah.
on them. And you can really see, like, you really empathize with her, because you see her entire world just get destroyed, and there's literally only a few of them left. So it's definitely hard, and you can kind of see why she progresses down the path that she does is because of what happens in episode 1. But I definitely felt through like 2 and 3 it kind of just was like a little slow for me. So not the biggest fan of it, but I definitely enjoyed getting some background on the character.
And to kind of go off what you were just saying too, Lex, I think like the timing of the show kind of adds on to the weight of Grievous's actions. Like we already saw that in Clone Wars, sure, but like diving into the Jedi Fallen Order games and Jedi Survivor with Meriden, how she's discussing what happened with the Night Sisters, of course, and she discusses the Grievous attack at one point, I think in Fallen Order, if I'm not mistaken, and kind of seeing that played out yet again, it hits. We've seen Order 66 100 times now. As heartbreaking as it is, and as cool as it is to see from different point of views, we've seen it 1,000 times. To see this instant now from 3 different point of views is a really interesting, I feel like. So, yeah, I agree. And it does add, it feels like the perfect timing for that to kind of have that impact too of episode 1.
Absolutely.
Curtis, what about you? What were you feeling at with all of Morgan's stuff going on in particular? I know we've had you on for some of the other things discussing what later on happens with Morgan, of course, but we're at the beginning of her.
So I'm kind of with Lex on this, to where I think episode 1 for her is the strongest, just because we get to see her kind of at her lowest point in her life, and then we kind of put together with episodes 2 and 3 of how she kind of became what we see in Ahsoka and in Mando a little bit. But that first episode, it really, coming from people who watch the Clone Wars, you never took the droids seriously except for like the commando droids. Like, oh, those are the problem.
Yeah.
Droids in this are like represented as like an actual force. You're like, oh, I see why the clones had a problem with them. And Grievous is like such a good, almost like a nightmare figure to Morgan, because he's like super evil in this. Him in this one episode remind me of a 2003 Grievous.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that, dude. I'm
like,
very glad you mentioned
he
that.
kills her mom. And he openly mocks the last thing she says and laughing about it. I'm like, bro, this dude is a menace. I get why Morgan kind of shuts off completely after this.
I agree, man. I agree. It's cool seeing anything where we get to feel like it's back to 2003 Clone Wars is a good feeling, in my opinion, because that stuff is so underrated, too.
Agreed. I see the problems with the 2003 stuff, but the Grievous stuff they do there makes them such a menace. But you get into 2 and 3, and I feel like 2's pacing for me is a little weird, because you started off showing plans for a new TIE fighter design to the Empire, and they're like, oh, that's great. We didn't want that. We just wanted you to tell us where your stuff is. Cool. Thanks. It's ours now. And that's where Thrawn comes in, and he kind of tests her a little bit. And is this our first time seeing an animated Thrawn's like right-hand guy?
Rook, or the guy in the like
his Imperial officer friend.
Okay, yeah, I got you. Yeah. I forget his name, but
yeah. Hellion. That's his name.
Yeah, he's in season 3 of Mando too, if I'm not mistaken, right? He's in the Shadow Council or whatever.
See, I don't remember that.
Oh,
because I know, because he's mentioned in Rebels, and now he's here. I'm like, oh, that's cool. We finally kind of get to see even 2 different sides of the Empire, how they want to test people. 3, I think, is the weakest for me. Personally, I feel like the Resistance coming down. I get the passage of time they're doing. The Resistance or the Rebellion comes back. They're like, hey, what are you guys still doing here? We won. Go to the New Republic. They're like, what the hell's the New Republic? Like, what? And we kind of see like Morgan kind of win it in the end of this, because nothing happens to like. I guess you kind of see how the city gets even worse in the Mando. But I really don't think we needed to see that. I think we could have inferred more if we saw more stuff with her being more political, because we've seen in Mando that she's a very capable fighter. I would have liked to see more of her like playing like her political, maybe more of her Night Sister side of like spitting venom to people and getting them to do stuff instead of having her kind of fight again. Personally,
yeah, I feel you. Oh man, I definitely do like the Barriss stuff a bit more than the Morgan Elsbeth stuff for sure. But I don't know if that's just I want to call it an issue, or if it's just kind of like a quirk that these Tales of series are going to have in the future. I feel like we're just going to compare one side to the other side nonstop. And of course, with that being said, like, I'm going to like one more than the other. I really like the Dooku stuff a lot, Tales of the Jedi, but I didn't think the Ahsoka stuff was bad. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's kind of the same case here, where it's just I do think the Barriss stuff is a bit stronger. Maybe it's because it's fan service, Of course, I've wanted to see what happens to Barriss for years now. That was a really cool story when I was a kid, seeing that kind of, that whole arc being played out in Clone Wars. So, and finally getting some answers to that too.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Hello, this is Natalie, and I am following up with the Financial Hardship Department.
What's going on, everybody? This is Brandon Messina, here to give you my stream of the week for this episode. So because this is a special Star Wars themed episode, I wanted to see if I could try and watch something related to the topic, just so there's a natural flow to the entire thing. So that's why I decided to watch Season 1 of Barry, available on Max streaming service. Okay, jokes aside. This has been a show that I've been meaning to watch for a while now, and I finally decided to start giving it a shot, and Boy, does it not disappoint. So, for those who haven't seen it yet, Bill Hader stars as an assassin who ends up taking part in some acting classes while in the middle of doing some hit jobs organized by one of his closest childhood family friends. Now, the premise alone makes you think that this could be a really good comedy series. And while there are plenty of jokes thrown in throughout the entire show, this has a lot of dark topics with a more serious and dramatic tone displayed throughout it all. Bill Hader does an amazing job portraying an assassin who just wants to find a new purpose in his life, all the while facing the guilt and trauma of his past. He is also surrounded by an amazing supporting cast, headlined by the great Henry Winkler, who plays the acting coach in the show, and a true highlight of the season, Anthony Carrigan plays a mafia member who has a positive attitude throughout the entire time. There is a great level of suspense and thrill heightened every episode as the season comes to an end, with the police now being involved in the crimes surrounding Barry. I think the best part about this show so far is that this singular season is well written and developed enough where it can end right then and there. Of course, being a couple more seasons after this, the season ends on a couple more good cliffhangers that keeps this story continuing on into season 2. And so far, this show is already off to a great start, and I can't wait to see where this story goes next, heading into the next 3 seasons. This has been your Stream of the Week, and let's continue on with the podcast.
Do you want to talk about it?
I don't think anyone ever really wants to talk about it.
I just want her to come home so I can fix things.
You want to talk about being alone, huh? He's had it pretty rough too, apparently.
How do you fix things, man, when you're the one who's fucked it all up?
You gonna order another drink or not?
I'll take another. How am I supposed to get up from rock bottom?
The way I see it, it's not too late. No matter how much it hurts, keep moving.
Let's go ahead and dive into the Barriss arc. So we have 3 episodes for that: Devoted, Realization, and The Way Out. During this, we're picking up shortly after or during Order 66. They don't really go too deep into it.
I think it's
but
during.
Is it during? Is it right?
Yeah, because she looks out her window and the council's burning.
You're right. It's during it.
It's like middle of the night. Yeah.
Middle of the night. Yeah. So Anakin's up there. He's slaughtering some, and just a little casual peep out the window. And we're jumping right back into the shoes of Barriss, and now we're seeing the Inquisitive program kind of being implemented at this point. And she is put right into it. She's having to go ahead and fight for her place within this program, fight for her whole life, essentially, going against other trainees for this too. We get some Grand Inquisitor coming back, which is really cool, because I did not think we were getting that voice actor back from Rebels. Drawing a blank on his name, but
Jason Isaacs.
Jason Isaacs, thank you. I was about to say Malfoy from Harry Potter.
That's his dad.
Daddy Malfoy. So get Jason Isaacs coming back in here, which is pretty cool. I really didn't think we were gonna get him back, especially after we got the Obi-Wan version of Grand Inquisitor. So really nice to see him back and kind of in this leading role, almost as a master, which we never really see before too, because he's almost just antagonistic in Obi-Wan. So seeing him lead a little bit in this is pretty cool. And of course, Barriss does make the Inquisitor program. We get a little Vader cameo, who is looking gorgeous in this episode, despite not doing anything, just taking a little seat. But hey, you look damn good, Vader. You look pretty good. Next episode, we do see Barriss with a fellow Inquisitor kind of going on a mission. And this is when Barriss realizes, like, hey, this is not what I want to do with the rest of my life. This is wrong. I may have been anti-Jedi back in the day, but hey, maybe the Jedi weren't so wrong after all, kind of deal. So she does leave the Inquisitor program. She just, kind of just dips out, goes MIA as far as the Empire is concerned. And years later, we don't really get a time frame as to when this next bit takes place, but it's implied it's pretty much during. We're assuming when Ahsoka's in hiding at some point. before New Hope or around that area. But the way out, we get Barriss when she's a bit older, which I was really shocked to see actually. And she's just known as the healer and is like this kind of tucked away healing character, and is just kind of there for people who need help to kind of give them some help, more or less. And there's a forced sense of child that's brought to her. Hey, we got to get this kid to a person I know. We're not going to drop any names, but we all know who it is, basically. And, you know, the past catches up with Barriss, and we do see that other fellow Inquisitor come into play, and they have to kind of go at it. And Barriss kind of shows that in a way, kind of, it reminds me of Kanan in a sense, where she doesn't get the formal training of being a Jedi Master whatsoever, but she's kind of the master of herself, if not a Jedi Master, which is really cool. And I kind of hope we get to see more of, and whether or not it be with Barriss or just in Star Wars in general. I think that's a really important theme, being able to know who yourself is and accept yourself. And this is a really great example of it, in my opinion. Nalini, how are you feeling about Barriss's whole arc in this after watching Clone Wars and now sitting with seeing, all right, so this character I've been a part of for, you know, way early on, the origins of this character basically, and now has this pretty cool and mature arc, in my opinion.
Well, first of all, when I was watching the commercials that kept coming on about it, I was truly trying to analyze what was going on. Oh no, she's becoming an Inquisitor, because there was this so much gossip, you know, oh, she's going to become an Inquisitor. What happened? You know, there's a lot of chatter, you know, in forums everywhere that I think she became an Inquisitor. So there was this one scene, you know, when Vader's about to walk in and she's about to bow. And I remember saying to my husband, I said, I think she's questioning it. I can see it on her face, but they did it so well that you didn't even know what she was going to do, because they really made it sort of very one-sided that she was becoming an Inquisitor. So you expected that to happen because that's what you saw in the commercials, in all the ads. So, you know, when I watched it, I thought, I'm not sure. I think there's a question mark on her face as Vader's walking in. And they kept showing that over and over again. So that, you know, when she finally decided that this wasn't what she wanted and she didn't want to be an Inquisitor and she didn't want to be part of that program, I was actually very relieved, because, you know, I didn't identify with Barriss in any way being an evil person. She was for the cause. She was a Jedi. She healed people. You know, that's what she did. I mean, she, you know, she was part of the Order, and for some reason they made her into this character that did the very opposite. You know, she tried to kill Ahsoka. It was just so left field from her character. So I think a lot of people maybe didn't resonate with that. They didn't like that. So I think that, you know, when she finally had the outcome that she did have, I think people were relieved, because it was really more in line with who she truly was. You know, and I felt playing her that this is who she truly is. She's not a bad person. She may have been, you know, maybe she might have been influenced in a different direction, and she probably is regretting that, or she sits in jail. But now she's had the opportunity to make amends, and she does that because, you know, she doesn't want to kill, you know, when she goes out on the expedition, she's told she has to kill. She doesn't want to do it. So, you know, she's made the right choice. And then I think that, you know, the whole aging process that she went through, I was also very surprised too, that, you know, that was part of her core healing power, that when she healed, it aged her. So, you know, I mean, she must have done a lot of healing and made, you know, made up for all the terrible things that she'd done. And that's why she'd aged, but it was also a good thing, you know, not aged so much, but also, okay, she's now healed people and she's really on the right path, and you can see it now in her lines and in her face and how much she's aged. So it's almost like a good thing, if you know what I mean. So, and then helping Lynn at the end, really wanting to help Lynn to change and not to make the same mistakes. I really liked that. I really thought, okay, that's amazing that she's really trying to help someone else before she does the exact same thing that she did. The only thing I would critique about those 3 episodes, and by the way, I do love those 3 episodes, was the fact that we still don't know what happened to her at the end. And we're left with a question mark yet again. So that was probably my only thing. It's like, oh, why don't we know what's going on again? And I just hope that they will do another, you know, another animated show about her that maybe explores more of her better side of her personality.
Yeah, that, or maybe Ahsoka season 2. You know, who knows of this character? There's a whole lot that could be done, honestly. Especially, you know, with kind of diving into that mystery person, of course.
Yes.
Yeah. Who knows? But beautifully well put. Yeah, Jake, where are you at with the Barriss arc in Tales of the Empire?
I really liked it. I thought it was great. I thought like the whole like you need to do what you got to do to survive, basically, like that kind of thing. Like, that she was kind of brought into this thing that maybe initially did not want to do, but you got to make the best of the situation, and then like if that's the hand you're dealt, you got to kind of roll with it until you're safe enough to kind of not. So I think like that was all really great stuff, and that was something that like you were saying, we've seen Order 66 like how many times now, and it's like it never, like they always find a way to like come at it at a different angle, and like seeing like this new angle of like, all right, like you made it, however you're gonna have to not be on the side that you probably were before. It's a different world, and you got to kind of adapt to this new environment. I thought that was all really great stuff. And then like, yeah, like by the end of it, like seeing her like be able to shed that was great, and very like fulfilling. And yeah, like the whole bits with like the child and like the relentless inquisitor that she's with, that's just like killing everybody. Like, oh well, open your eyes, like this is kind of what's going on. But yeah, I definitely want to see like where she's headed, because like, yeah, there's more to this, and yeah, and then again, didn't totally, she was in the Clone Wars, and I'm sure like a lot of this was in that, but I didn't get a chance to see that. But like that's all really interesting stuff now, and like seeing the kind of outcome here makes me interested in like sort of revisiting those scenes at least.
Jake, you have no clue.
Yeah,
you have no clue.
I'll check it out. But yeah, I mean, like just a little bit that I've seen is super like intriguing and really kind of it's really great stuff. And I think that's like the more they explore Order 66, the more they kind of chip away at. And like, we started with like this big kind of like spectacle of like this grand tragedy, and then every time they just manage to make it more and more like personal. And I think it's great storytelling, especially like this far along into like into the Star Wars like sort of franchise, like seeing them like attack these different the same event but like with different angles, I think is really speaks to how like powerful like that specific moment was. So that was great.
Yeah, and crazy part is, man, like we've been telling Order 66 for 20 years almost. Next year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
God, I feel old, man. This is crazy. Oh, Lex, where are you at with the Barriss arc in this one?
I loved it. I thought it was really cool. I mean, I'm a huge Clone Wars fan. I grew up watching it, and I rewatch it all the time. So I feel like Barriss's story always had like a question mark to it for years. So I think finally getting to kind of see at least kind of where it goes after the Clone Wars was really cool. And I feel like the first two episodes, you really kind of see her open herself up to the dark side, but not fully giving in. And like you can kind of tell, that she's questioning it. She doesn't want to fully commit, but I think it was really cool that like through all of that, you kind of see the trials and tribulations that she faces, especially with the other Inquisitors. I thought that was really cool that they kind of folded those back in, like Marok, and then I don't know if they named the other Inquisitor that we saw in Tales of the Jedi in the Ahsoka arc, but we get to see that one. The masked
fro-looking guy, yeah.
Yeah. So we got to see him, and of course Vader. I'll never not take a glimpse at Vader, but I thought it was kind of pointless, unfortunately. And then in the second episode, you kind of see where she was like, yeah, no, I'm drawing the line. This is not right. This is not what I stand for. And then the third episode, I just thought was very wholesome. And you kind of just really see the transition back to who she was in the early days of the Clone Wars, which I felt like was very rewarding. And I feel like it really was just a stepping stone to set up future projects, possibly like The Path or things of that nature, kind of bringing in young Jedi. Perhaps that's just my speculation, my take on it, but I really loved her 3 episodes. I thought they were absolutely phenomenal. Gives me goosebumps every time I think about it, but there's just more and more that you kind of peel back as you talk about it with others.
I forgot about The Path, Lex. That's a good point. I actually totally forgot about that arc or that little tidbit in Obi-Wan. Okay. Okay. Curtis, how are you feeling about this 3, man?
I like him. There's kind of the same thing to where you enter her arc being like, oh, what happened to her? And you leave with, what happened to her? But I think the journey there, I like especially episode 1, to where I think she's not full anti-Jedi, but she's more of a she's a very flawed character, which I think she got a lot of bad influences around her. When she tries to become an Inquisitor with these people that know what happened to her, assuming she trained with them a bit, he goes, okay, cool. There's only one spot for one. Kill the other one. She immediately like hesitates. She goes, no.
Mm.
So there's still like some connection there, but then she has to adapt and like take on the role of like, if I'm gonna survive in this world, I gotta do some bad stuff.
Yeah.
Which kind of comes ahead in episode 2, where I personally, for me, I think it's when they find that rogue Jedi cell, and she gets them to surrender basically. And the other Inquisitor goes, all right, great, kill them now. And she goes, I don't understand. They surrendered. We win either way. That whole conflict I liked. In episode 3, I really like in how you spend a couple minutes of her kind of like deflecting attacks, kind of doing what the Inquisitor does with her, where she kind of pokes and prods and see where her opponent's at mentally. And then you get that whole section in the ice cave, which I really like.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like she's like learning from her past mistakes and using some of the words maybe her master gave her, of like, the decisions you make do not define you. I've done bad things. I've accepted that, and I'm trying to better myself. You can do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then she gets stabbed, which I wasn't expecting. I was like, oh, okay, interesting.
Mm.
And then it kind of ends there. I was like, I would have liked a little bit more.
Sure.
But overall, I liked the idea of where they were going with it. I think just a couple more minutes at the end, or like, I don't know, the way they structured it a little bit differently I would have liked, but I liked where they were going with it.
I'm surprised you didn't mention this, man. Maybe this was just me making this weird of connection, but like I'm really glad we had like an ice cave for the last episode. It reminded me of that 2003 episode of her and Luminara like just bouncing all over Ilum with the like the little cloaking droids.
Oh, right. Yep.
Yeah, man. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's when Yoda and Padme have to go down there to check it out for some reason, which is a weird team up, which is really cool. But yeah, it reminded me a lot of that, dude. I was kind of expecting to do some like freaky wall bounces in this episode because of that episode of Clone Wars. But I don't know. Tales of the Empire season 2, maybe we'll just get some pick right back up, just bouncing off to the roof. That'd be cool.
Maybe.
Yeah. They're kind of like frogs almost, man. Everyone calls Yoda and Attack of the Clones a frog, fighting Dooku jumping off the walls. But they're hopping in Clone Wars, man.
You know what?
Sick.
Now that you say that, it does remind me of like, is it Ilum where the apprentices get their crystals?
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it, it's very much like Lynn is really trying to rediscover herself again, because there's a lot of shots where she's mostly in red, but there are some shots also to where like even with lightsaber and like in front of her, there's a lot of like soft blue on her a lot of the time. They're like conflicting, as if there is a conflict in there of her trying to like figure out how to find herself again. Like, I don't know. I just, now that you say that, it reminds me of a lot of that I just remembered.
Yeah. Well, maybe it is Ilum, man. I don't remember if there was a planet discussing this. It could be. Who knows?
I don't think so. Just random ice planet, which is Star Wars. Oh, it's ice. It's all this planet now.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's the back corner of Hoth, dude. Yeah. What was that one planet with the spider guys in Mando season 2? Maybe it's that planet.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, right.
So let me ask you guys this. We're gonna go one by one before we wrap up. Jake, what are your kind of like overall thoughts on this as a whole series? Was this something you overall enjoyed? Tales of the Empire?
Yeah.
I honestly don't think we'll get a season 2 possibly. I do think we'll keep getting tales of another kind of story going further.
Right. Yeah, I definitely think like I would like more of this, because I love that like sort of like this new avenue that they've kind of created to tell different stories, you know, and I like that a lot. And I think to further explore like specifically this would be really interesting, because it's like there might be like other characters that we can, you know, dive into that we maybe weren't thinking were like on the surface like worth exploring, but then like once you do, it's like, well, these are really incredible stories. So I felt that way with this, and I definitely think like if they were to continue with this or tales of something else, then yeah, like go for it. Go with those different eras and find someone that maybe hasn't had that sort of spotlight before, and then to sort of give them that and see what sort of story that they come up with. I'm all for. So definitely like am all sort of technology approach that they've taken with it, and I like these like little arcs that they have. I would like more of them. I think like 6. I would have done like 9 or 12. Like do another 2 arcs. Why not? It's only 10 minutes. I mean, I know like animation and all that stuff, but like these are like bite-sized episodes. Like you can knock this out in an hour and a half, and it's like a very rewarding like experience. But like at the same time, like give me more. Like I'll binge more of this. I'll double it up. Let's do 3 hours. So I would like to see more. And I'd like to see more than 6 episodes. Why not? Go for it. Do 12. I love like 4 arcs. Why not?
They're making an odd number. That's my one thing I'm not happy with all the Disney Plus stuff, dude. Everything is like a formula, a structure.
Yeah.
Give me a 4th episode if it's it tells a better story, of what just one of these. I'm okay with a 7-episode season. I'd be cool. I'm here for it. I 100% agree with you on that, Jake. 100%. Oof. Nalini, what about you? For the whole series of Tales of the Empire, where are you standing with this one as a whole?
I actually really enjoyed it. I really, I mean, not just because my character, gets, a lot of questions answered, but I really enjoyed Morgan Elsworth's story as well. So, very much like Jake, I would like to see more. I feel like that they really tried to put too much in too little a time, like 10, 15 minutes of whatever those they were. They're just too short. We didn't see enough. And I would really like them to go back and, give an ending to Barriss Offee. We need to know what's happening with her. It can't be open-ended like that still. So, I understand why they do that, because sometimes that open-endedness may, come out in the form of a live action or something like that. But I'd also like to see other characters, because there's so many other characters as part of the Star Wars universe that we want to know. We saw them in Mandalorian, we saw them in this, or we saw them in that, and then okay, this is their backstory, and I think that's very fascinating to see. So I would also like to see more Tales of the Empire of other characters, but also more about Barriss Offee, more about Morgan, just more of everybody basically. But probably I would say the only critique is really have a definitive of the characters, having an open-ended sort of story where you really truly don't know what's going on. If they're even going to do an episode, can be a bit not frustrating, but like, you're left with more questions than you really want. You want answers, you're not getting them. So I'd like to see that as well.
I gotcha. And Curtis, where are you at with this whole thing as a complete project here?
So I like it. I think there's some things I definitely would have maybe added or changed. I think some of the pacing is kind of off. And it's going to get compared to the Tales of the Jedi, which is inevitable because it's part of this same kind of genre. Didn't like it as much as the first one, but there are the ideas in this I liked a lot. I just wish they would have executed it better and given us a more definitive answer of what happened to Barriss, or not as open-ended to it,
Sure. I gotcha. Whew. And Lex, what about you? And I'm glad we can get you on here for a more in-depth discussion of these compared to just partial seasons. So this whole project, where are you at with this one?
I enjoyed it. I hate to compare it to Tales of the Jedi, as Curtis said, but I did feel like I enjoyed that more, but I didn't think that this was terrible. I really liked the concept of these Tales of, and I think there was like a post kind of floating around that just had a multitude. Tales of the Old Republic, Tales of the High Republic, Tales of the Bounty Hunter, Tales of this, Tales of that, and I think it really opens the doors, because there's so many characters within the Star Wars universe that you can do these little bite-size, as Jake is putting it, like episodes on them, and these little arcs. I think they need to kind of hone in a little bit and not leave so much room for speculation, but I think speculation is kind of needed. I think it gives you as the viewer an opportunity to kind of formulate your own kind of theories and things of that nature, which is kind of the fun aspect of having a fandom. But when you leave it so open and broad, it kind of leaves you just wondering more. But I really like it. I think that, doing these little short episodes, of which you get a whole arc about a character in less than an hour, is super cool, and I really enjoy them. But every episode, even from Tales of the Jedi to this, always leaves me wanting more. So they're doing something right, I think.
I gotcha. Very nice. Jake, it's interesting. You can't really attest to this one because this is your first Star Wars episode, but Curtis definitely can. We went from having screaming matches of Star Wars in this podcast to serious, mature conversations. This is crazy.
Dude, I know. There was a lot of heated there were a lot of opinions in the early days.
Yeah. Oh boy. Oh boy. We'll get to those soon with the sequels in one of these days, Curtis. We'll go back to our roots when we end this
I'm sure.
series. But Jake, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap it up for this week, bro.
Yeah,
I
man.
think so. Oh, guys, it's been wonderful having you all on, Curtis and Lex. It's been a pleasure, like always. Nalini, first of all, I need to go ahead and know. Thank you for coming on here. First off, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on for such an episode, such a fitting episode of that too. But where can our listeners find you on social media? Where can they keep up with you for convention appearances and all that?
At Jedi Nalini on Instagram, or just Nalini Krishan on Facebook. But at Jedi Nalini is my main sort of Star Wars focused page.
There you go. There you go. And thank you again so much for coming on here. It's been an absolute pleasure. Curtis, of course, it's been a blast getting you on here like always too. Well, we'll get you back on here, I guess, dude. You kind of live in our backyard.
Like a week and a half, I'll be back.
Yeah, really, dude. Where can the listeners find you on your Twitch, bro?
So they can find me over at Twitch on twitch.tv/CurtisShack. Currently playing through the Elden Ring DLC, which I've been doing a lot of recently.
Oh, okay.
And then me and my buddy also have a podcast called Code Zero, where we mostly talk about Japanese anime and its influences on Western animation and Western cartoons as well. We will eventually do our big project right now is going through the original Avatar: The Last Airbender show.
Ooh.
And talking about that and what a big influence it had on a lot of media here and the influence it had on Japanese animation, even though it took a lot of similarities from that.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, just mostly talking about life with the anime podcast and all that kind of stuff, but that's where they'll find me at code_0 podcast on Instagram.
Very nice, very nice. And of course, links down below, guys. Lex, it's a pleasure getting you on here, finally on this main show. Where can our listeners find you as well?
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I go by Jedi.Lex on pretty much all platforms, and I do everything and all things Star Wars, conventions, collectibles, reactions, news. So if you're into that kind of stuff, come on over. We'll be happy to have you.
Of course, of course. Ooh, and Jake, there's a little film of yours that's out currently, man. A little film of yours. Go ahead and let us know about it yet again.
So the Ick, people seem to be enjoying it. So it's out there. It's on the Galaxy Film YouTube page now. Check it out if you haven't already. We had fun making it, and we are having a good time discussing more films. And yeah, thank you guys so much for the support and love that you've already shown for it. And hope you guys enjoy it. And I hope you guys enjoy the stuff that we've got coming out pretty soon. It's been a lot of fun getting back into it. So yeah.
Absolutely, bro. And check out the LFG for this week, talking Maxine. We got Jake and Naima this week on that one, of course, which Naima also helped produce a little film I did called Goonies and Agony, which is also available on the Galaxy Film YouTube channel you can watch now. We got a lot more coming, guys. And stay tuned for next week because we are discussing The Acolyte, the other Disney Plus show that came out this year for Star Wars. So stay tuned. If you guys enjoyed the show, please consider leaving us an iTunes or Spotify review. Hit the subscribe button if you're watching this on YouTube. And we will talk to you guys next week. Bye, guys.